Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're tackling something really relevant today, something we all deal with, cybersecurity. And, we see the headlines about big data breaches, but it's much bigger than that.
Yeah, for sure. It really is about protecting our entire digital lives, everything we do online.
Exactly. And that can feel kind of mysterious, a little overwhelming even. But to really get a handle on it, we're diving deep today with cybersecurity in context as our guide.
Great book. Really gets into the nitty-gritty of it all.
And speaking of nitty-gritty, maybe we should start with the basics. What is that, cybersecurity, really? Beyond just like passwords and stuff.
Right. It's more than that. At its heart, it's about protecting information. But not just keeping it secret, though that's a part of it. It's also making sure that information stays accurate.
Okay, so no one's messing with it. Got it.
Exactly. And that it's accessible to the right people when they need it. That's the CIA triad. Confidentiality, integrity, and availability.
CIA triad.
Yeah.
Sounds a little intense. Like, are we about to get recruited or something?
Not quite, haha. Just remember those three elements, they're all connected. Confidentiality means keeping sensitive info private. Integrity means making sure no one tampers with it. And availability is about making sure the right people can access it when they need to.
So it's like if one of those things breaks down, the whole system is vulnerable.
Exactly. Good cybersecurity strategy makes sure all those things are working together.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The internet wasn't really built with this kind of security in mind.
Seriously, you're telling me the very foundation of the internet is shaky?
It's like building a house without any locks on the doors. The early internet, it was all about open communication, sharing, which is great for innovation, but not so great for security.
Right. I can see how that would be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
So what, are we just stuck with a vulnerable internet forever?
Not necessarily, but it's an ongoing challenge, and it gets even trickier when you consider something called the attribution problem.
Uh-oh, that sounds ominous. What's that?
It's about figuring out who is actually behind a cyber attack, which is surprisingly difficult. Imagine trying to solve a puzzle, but the pieces keep changing shape.
Sounds like a nightmare. I guess it's not as easy as the movies make it seem, huh?
Not even close. Take the solar sunrise attack back in the 90s. Everyone thought it was this sophisticated group, maybe even a nation state, but turned out to be a couple of teenagers.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we've got this inherently vulnerable system. It's hard to track who's doing what. This is why we need to understand the context around cybersecurity.
Exactly. It's not enough to just react to the latest news story or install some antivirus and call it a day.
We gotta be proactive, not reactive.
Exactly. We need to understand those deeper challenges to make informed decisions about our own digital lives, how to protect ourselves. And that's where it gets even more interesting because a lot of this is about human behavior, not just technology.
Yeah, it really is kind of wild when you think about how much psychology factors into all of this, Like we always think of cybersecurity as this really technical thing, but it seems like it's just as much about human behavior.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, building stronger tech, stronger defenses, that's important. But we can't ignore the human element. Why do people fall for these attacks? What makes them vulnerable in the first place? That's what we need to understand.
And cybersecurity in context, they actually get into the economics behind a lot of these cyber attacks. It's like, what are the motivations here? Why do the bad guys do what they do?
Right. It's about incentives. The attackers, they only need to be right once, find one vulnerability, exploit it. But the people defending systems, they have to be right all the time, 100%, or things fall apart.
No pressure, right.
Right, and when you add in the fact that a lot of these attacks, if they're successful even once, can be really profitable, you can see why it's such a challenge.
Yeah, it's kind of like that saying, locks only keep honest people out, right? Like if someone's really determined, they'll find a way in.
That's a great way to put it. And increasingly, attackers are getting really good at using psychology to their advantage. Think about phishing attacks.
Oh man, don't even get me started on phishing emails. I swear some of them are so convincing. How are you supposed to tell?
Exactly. They work because they play on our trust, on wanting things to be easy, convenient, and sometimes even our fear, right?
Yeah, that feeling when you think maybe your bank account really IS compromised.
Like that John Podesta email hack during the election.
Right. Yeah.
One wrong click and suddenly, boom, all this sensitive information is out there.
Definitely makes you think twice about every email you open. So what's the average person supposed to do? How do we get smarter about this stuff? How do we outsmart a phishing scam?
It's all about being a little skeptical, question everything. Does this email look even slightly off? Hover over that link. Is it really from who it claims to be? And anything that seems too good to be true, it probably is.
So it's like good digital habits, basically, like learning to look both ways before you cross the street, but for the internet.
Exactly. It takes practice, just like anything else. But there's another piece to this that cybersecurity in context brings up, which is that even the best security in the world is useless if people don't use it, if it's too complicated.
That is so true. I mean, I'm guilty of this too. How many times do we just click through those security warnings?
We all do it. But it gets at this tension in cybersecurity between usability and security. If it's getting in the way of us doing our jobs or living our lives, people will find workarounds. They will.
Right. Got to find that balance, make sure the security measures are actually being used, that they work for people.
Absolutely. That's what makes the human element so important. It's not just about telling people be more careful. It's about designing systems that work with human nature, not against it.
Sounds like a pretty tall order, especially when you consider the fact that this isn't just about individuals, right? Cybersecurity in context also talks about cyber conflict on a much bigger scale. I mean, are we talking cyber warfare here?
That's the big question, isn't it? And like most things in cybersecurity, the answer's a little complicated.
So, cyber warfare, it's a scary thought. Is it like really war, though?
That's what everyone's trying to figure out. It's definitely dramatic. But, like you said, is it really war? Cybersecurity in context talks about this guy, Thomas Rid. He says most cyber attacks aren't really war in the traditional sense.
Interesting. So more like, what, espionage?
Yeah.
Sabotage?
Exactly. Or even just like regular old crime, but happening in the digital world.
Okay, so where's the line?
Yeah.
What if a cyber attack causes damage in the real world?
Right. Like if someone hacks a power grid, shuts down a hospital.
Exactly. That's going to change things, right?
It's a gray area for sure. The more connected everything gets, the less clear those lines become. A cyber attack that disrupts essential services, it's just as bad as a physical attack in a lot of ways.
And way harder to stop, I bet. Like, if you don't even know who attacked you, how can you retaliate? How do you even threaten retaliation?
It's a huge problem. Cybersecurity in context actually compares it to, remember the Cold War.
Mutually assured destruction, all that.
Right, except in this case, it's even harder because attribution is so difficult. You don't want to accidentally start a real war because you're not sure who's behind a cyber attack.
Talk about high stakes. So knowing all of this, where do we even go from here? How do we move beyond just reacting to the latest threat?
Well, the book suggests maybe we need a totally different way of thinking about cybersecurity. Like, what if we treated it as a public good?
A public good.
Yeah, like clean air, clean water. It's not just about protecting yourself, it's about protecting everyone.
So less about building higher walls and more about, like, cleaning up the entire digital environment.
Exactly. They talk about this researcher, Elinor Ostrom, who won a Nobel Prize studying how communities manage shared resources. Turns out collective action can be way more effective than just leaving it up to individuals or even governments.
Makes sense. If we all take responsibility, the whole internet benefits. We've got to be realistic, though, right? These threats, they're going away. What's keeping cybersecurity folks up at night these days?
Well, one thing that's a growing concern is the potential for AI-powered attacks. As artificial intelligence gets more advanced, well, you can bet the bad guys are going to find ways to use it. AI hacking. Okay, now that's straight out of a sci-fi movie. It might sound far-fetched, but it's something we need to be ready for. But that brings us back to what we've been talking about today. Knowledge is power, right? The more we understand how cybersecurity works, the motivations behind it, the psychology of it, the better equipped we'll be to deal with these threats, even the ones that seem like they're straight out of the future.
So stay curious, stay informed. That's our best defense.
Absolutely. And I'd add to that, see cybersecurity as an opportunity, not just a problem to be solved. It's a chance to use your skills to make a real difference in the world.
That's a great point to end on. Big thanks to Cybersecurity in Context for all the insights today. And thank you for listening. If you could redesign the internet with security in mind, what would you do differently? Think about it. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay safe out there.
At the end of this podcast, please share your thoughts on the book. And if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like and subscribe for more.